For those of you who have called in or emailed or possibly dropped a question into the Dropbox here at Personal Edge Fitness, it is that time again for our segment, Ask Katie, today on the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast.
Welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast
with Garrett Williamson.
Health, wellness, exercise, nutrition, and a whole lot more. Got questions? Call us and leave a message at 251-278-EDGE or message us at Personal Edge Fitness on Facebook and Instagram, at Team PE on Twitter, or personaledgefitness.com.
Good day and welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Garrett Williamson, president of Personal Edge Fitness, and I have with me today, of course, Katie for the Ask Katie segment. Say hey, Katie.
Hi.
All of a sudden, I'm back to a Burns and Allen show, you know. Say good night, Gracie. We won't go there, though. We're going to dive headfirst in the questions in just a minute, but I want to tell you how to get in touch with the show in case you have any questions for Katie or any questions concerning dispelling the myths of health, fitness, and wellness. Please reach out to us at area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach us, which many people do, on our website at personaledgefitness.com. There's an info link on there. You can click it. It takes you to info@personaledgefitness.com. You can email us a question there. You can also reach out to us here at the facility or contact us, hit us up on Twitter at Team PE if you'd like to. Facebook, we've got it all. So basically looking for Personal Edge Fitness and you'll find us. So all right, we're going to dive headfirst into these questions because I'm sure we've got some great ones. So take it from the top. Go for it, Katie.
I'm really going to take it to the top. Somebody wants to know, what can I expect during my first few training sessions? So you first call the facility and you want to work out. The first person you're going to meet with is Garrett.
Unless it's Eastern Shore.
Right, and then you'll meet with Josh.
Exactly.
But your first one is just going to be a consultation. We're just going to sit down and talk to you about our gym membership, what we do and what we're about and our culture and everything, and see if it's the right fit for you. And then we're going to set up your first session. You'll see Erica for scheduling. Set up that first session. And your first one, we always tell you, you're not going to be sore, you know?
No, definitely not. I mean, we're going to take it easy. We're taking the information that we learned in the consultation. We learned a good bit about a new client in the consultation. Actually, that's the whole reason we have it. It's not that we can't write a great program, what have you. We've never worked with you. We may have seen that heart disease before. We may have seen that shoulder injury before, but we've never worked with you. And then we're going to take that information and then still don't know anything about you because we haven't worked with you yet. And that's what you're talking about in that first session.
The first session, not going to be much. We're going to do the basic movements, just get to know you and how your body moves and really get to individualize your program and make sure that we can get clear notes for us so that when you're working with other trainers, because you're not going to work with the same trainer every time.
Right.
But when you're working with our trainers here, we'll all be on the same page about what you are able to do.
We get asked about that a lot, about the fact that every client here at Personal Edge trains with multiple trainers. And why is that? First thing, it's not potluck. It's not just, oh, well, who's available at 2 o'clock and that's who's going to work with you. No, we actually have different types of trainers here. We have everything from exercise specialist, exercise coordinator to people like Katie. Katie is a client coordinator and actually sets up and designs protocols as well as works with trainers, with clients. And as I've said many times, we have the most qualified staff in the Southeast, with every staff member possessing at minimum a bachelor's degree in either exercise science, physiology, kinesiology, sport medicine, or athletic training. It is the most qualified staff in the Southeast, and most likely, I don't know, wouldn't you say that if we had the most qualified staff in the Southeast, we probably have the top trainer in the Southeast?
For sure.
I would have to agree, but nobody's as good as our team.
Right.
You're pretty good. You've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
You know, a client coordinator. Would you say that you're better than our entire team?
No.
Nor would I. So 2 heads are better than 1. This is why we have you work with more than one person. You're set up with a client coordinator that actually sets up your protocol, like Katie, and actually does training with you. And then we have exercise specialists, and they are focused on taking that protocol and adapting it to you. So that's why you're working with multiple people. But the notes that your client coordinator is doing in your first session gets translated to that exercise specialist so you can have a good congruent care, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of trainers fall into routines, and you'll come in and do the same exercise every single time you come in. And
Absolutely.
So working with different trainers here, and even our clients have said it, has really helped get people out of ruts.
Very much so.
And just avoid doing the same exercise every time.
Well, and it helps the trainers do that also. Now, we've been doing this, the Personal Edge has been in existence for 23 years. Trust me, we know all about personal training. And what you're saying about that, it's easy for a trainer to get into a rut. By communicating with other trainers that are working with the same client, it'll give you an idea that you never even thought about doing before.
Yeah.
Client will feel more comfortable telling somebody something, or we have our own likes and dislikes. I mean, as far as that goes, and that's going to show up in our training.
Yeah.
Like, I prefer pull.
You're going to always put people on the hamstring machine.
The bingo. There you go. That is known about me. Very much so. That is my key areas that I love to work. And so, but we have people that love push. You love Olympic lifting.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. That's not my forte. So this would be a good pairing because you're going to get best of both worlds that way. So
yeah.
Sorry, I've been kind of beating that to death about going multiple
It's
trainers.
okay. After that first initial session where we're actually getting our notes and everything, that's when we're really going to take it from there. You're going to come in and we're going to start getting some serious workouts in. That's when the soreness may set in for the first few sessions. Yeah, but that's what to expect on your first few sessions here.
I always like to say, you're talking about the first few sessions, and that's when you start kind of kicking it in gear. And you go at your own speed, but we're going to go at the top level of whatever that speed is.
Right.
I've used this term for years, and you're way too young to realize. You may know what this means, but I always say after the first few sessions, eat your Wheaties. Do you know that one?
I've heard eat your Wheaties before.
For those Gen X and above, you'll understand what I'm talking about, I'm sure. So please go on to the next question.
All right. How long and how often should I exercise in order to see results? This one is a difficult question because it's all going to be based on the individual and what kind of results that you're looking for. Are we measuring results? Do you want to see physical results, or is it measurement based? It could take 2 months. It could take a week. It really depends. Your body fluctuates a good amount of weight every day depending on how much you eat and what you drink. So you could weigh yourself in the morning and you'd be different at night. You could call that results.
True. How long would you think, that especially if somebody that hasn't worked with a trainer or their exercise program is not up to par like it is once they become a client here, let's say they've been, how long consistently will they start feeling a difference? Energy level, sleep, what have you? What would you say?
I can think of a specific client right now. When she started coming in, she was very weak, didn't even believe in herself. And after about 1.5 to 2 months, she was fully confident in herself and her movements and really opened up and allowed us to start pushing her more. So I would say about 1.5 months before people really start seeing
I got you.
results.
We've had changes in folks, especially if you've never exercised before, that come in and literally within the first 2 weeks start to notice a difference. To notice a difference in their energy level, start to notice a difference in how they feel about their sleep, about their rest. It's amazing how much better you feel just about being yourself, which is our mission statement. So,
okay, our next one. What are the best types of exercise for improving cardio health? Anything that gets your heart rate beating.
True.
Get that heart rate up. You can do HIIT exercises, stuff like battle ropes, intervals, where you're doing box jumps or med ball slams. Those are my top 3 go-tos. You want to get that heart rate up? Go push the sled. That's another good one. You can also pull it. But just going for a walk outside, walking up a hill, going for any walk, a light jog, riding your bike, swimming. We were just talking about swimming not too long ago. Yeah. Best exercises, though, I'm going to go with swimming, honestly, for the best exercise of improving cardio health.
The only trick we always have with that what is the best exercise? What's the best ab exercise? The answer to that question, I feel, always is the one that you do.
The one that's best for you.
Period.
What fits into your lifestyle. What are you going to be able to do?
Exactly. Because you could we do this when we talk about writing up programs for people. That's what we find out in the first few sessions with somebody is that, this may be the great program on paper, but you hate every exercise in this thing. Why do it?
Exactly.
Let's find another way.
And then a good question going right along with that is, how can I prevent injury while exercising, and what should I do if I get injured? Well, working with us, the most qualified staff in the Southeast, we are going to help you prevent injury. We're always watching form, monitoring it, fixing things when needed, and we're not afraid to say stop what you're doing right then and there. But we do have athletic trainers on staff too, and so if you get injured, you can always reach out to one of us and say, hey, I need a meeting or time with our athletic trainer, and he'll tell you where to go from there.
Exactly. Avoiding it is probably the biggest part of it.
Exactly. Injury prevention.
True.
This one, am I allowed to say who wrote it? It's written like a letter.
No, I think he'll leave his name off. We'll have to ask him later. Maybe I'll bring it up when he calls in,
This person wrote it like a letter, but it says, Katie, how do I lose my beer belly? Well, let's go back to that cardio and getting that heart rate up. It may also start by stop drinking beer. Unfortunately, I know that answer is not, the favorited answer.
And since it's not, let's look at simple. Calories in, calories out.
Right.
If we're going to drink 3 beers worth of calories, then let's burn 4 beers worth of calories in cardio or in resistance training. One way or the other. Pretty simple.
Come get an extra session in.
Disagree with you on giving up beer. That's not going to happen at all. Especially, I know this individual, and I promise you that's not going to happen. That's not even on the table. Should it have been concerned? Now, in the Ask Katie box, we end up with questions to me, and I'm not sure why my questions got dropped. But okay, that's fine.
You need your own Ask Garrett box.
Maybe that's why. My Ask Garrett box, everybody thinks my Ask Garrett's box is the trash can, the step-on trash can at the front door. I ended up with a few questions and Katie's pile of questions. So one of them, I love this question. Now, I'm not sure why I got this question. I'm curious. I don't know who wrote this, but I'm curious who wrote this because since it was directed to me and not Katie, and the reason I'm so inquisitive about why this person asked me this question. The question is, what are your thoughts on gut health? My father was a gastroenterologist, so I'm curious if maybe that's where this question came from. So
I may have known.
Yeah, and the MD does not transfer via osmosis. It doesn't like go down by generations, what have you say. But I happen to know a few things about gut health, and I can tell you quite a bit about endoscopy also, if you really want to know, but mainly because I heard so many stories about my father coming in and talking about those. But when it boils down to gut health, if this is where you're going with this question, there's a lot of talk about that because there's a lot of talk about the bacteria and the breakdown, the metabolizing that goes on in your stomach, in your gut. It's a pretty advanced process because you're using in your gut, quote unquote, and when you're talking about gut, you're talking about stomach, you're also talking about the intestines. You've got all this bacteria. And you would think, okay, well, that's a bad thing. Maybe I drink some alcohol and get rid of the bacteria. No, that's actually a good thing. You want this healthy bacteria, and it is there to help break down the nutrients as they come into your gut. And when all the food or whatever is passing through the intestines, that's when that breakdown process is going on and things are entering into the bloodstream. And the bacteria is responsible for doing that. When you have, I hate to use the word damage, but that bacteria is kind of damaged or that process is disrupted, that's going to affect your metabolism. And it'll affect everything from how your stomach feels to whether or not you're building muscle, to whether or not you're storing fat, to whether or not you have gas. I mean, all of it goes into that. So probably one of the best things for gut health, and it's almost like it's like I say about a multivitamin, and that is this keyword you've heard a lot of, which is probiotics. I know that's a big buzzword, and it's also it's a huge market. There's a huge market of probiotics out there, but if you look at the research, it's almost like taking a multivitamin. So having some probiotics on board is pretty well not going to hurt you. There's different types of supplements that have it. If you're looking for food that has probiotics, a lot of your dairy, your yogurt, your cheese, believe it or not, sourdough bread, fantastic probiotic as a matter of fact. So I hope that helps a little bit. There's even some forms of alcohol that have probiotics, believe it or not.
It's not beer.
We won't go there. Okay, now I jumped the gun, and I think it made Katie mad about this. We had somebody speak to her at the summer party about a question that he had actually submitted. But he spoke to Katie and Katie said, I'm going to answer them, Ask Katie. And then I turn around the next week and I do a podcast on it.
So see, even when you don't ask Garrett, he answers my questions.
I think they've been watching the podcast since the beginning, so they've heard that. So, but it happens to be a nutrition and fueling. And this was a avid tennis player, really, really, really good tennis player, who actually asked the question, and we did a podcast 2 or 3 podcasts ago talking about that. So I'll simply say, go back and listen to that podcast, but also that breakdown between carbohydrates and protein is very, very, very important if you're looking to maintain muscle, rebuilding, recovering after a workout, and making sure you have the right carbohydrate mix and protein mix for that, for fueling for the activity itself. And we go over that really, really, really deep in that podcast. And another one is thoughts on a keto diet. Now, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on a keto diet?
I honestly have not looked into much on a keto diet. I'm not a big diet person. I'm not ready for that lifestyle change yet.
I understand. Well, and what diet is one of 2 definitions. Diet is what a friend of mine used to say all the time, and actually Garfield says, and that is diet is die with the T on the end of it. Most people think of when they think of diet, they think of restrictive. Diet is not restrictive. Everybody's on a diet. I mean, Gandhi, during his hunger strike, was on a diet. I mean, his diet was he ate nothing. And then you've got people that are morbidly obese. They're on a diet. Their diet is they're taking way too many calories. Keto, briefly, I think make people upset that actually are proponents of keto when I liken keto to the Atkins diet, because there's a lot of similarity in those two. High protein, they just don't lean into the fats quite as much in keto, but the process is simple. It's eliminating a couple of things. You're eliminating quote-unquote carbohydrates. No, the carbohydrates aren't bad. There's no such thing as bad food. If you listen to my podcast on fueling or any of my podcasts about nutrition, you hear I talk a lot about carbohydrates. They are energy. If you go to different countries, those substances aren't listed as carbohydrates on the nutrition label. It's listed as energy. Australia, England, they have energy in there. So carbohydrates aren't bad. But what's the one reason why we overeat? Do you know what it is?
I want to say Dehydration or boredom.
Actually, it's funny you say that. You gave the two reasons why we have this one reason why we overeat. No, you seriously did. There's only one reason why we overeat, which is cravings. There's only two reasons why we crave. And you listed both of them, believe it or not. You listed dehydration.
Yep.
40% of the reason why we overeat, why we crave, is lack of water. The second, you said boredom. All right, boredom, as I've talked before, boredom is a form of stress. Because I feel like I should be doing something and not doing something. So there's only four things that we crave. They're not food. They're salt, sugar, alcohol, caffeine. Well, in a keto diet, you're getting rid of some of the largest addictive chemicals that we have. Again, there's no such thing as bad food. And by doing that, you typically will not overeat. There's nothing wrong with the food itself. You'll typically want to overeat because we overeat because of craving. So you're reducing the cravings. This is what the idea of the keto diet is, except for the fact that you go into ketosis and as far as burning fat and what have you. I don't want to go too deep into it because I'm not an expert on keto. What do I think about it? Well, it's like every other diet out there that's not illegal, immoral, or fattening. I'm a fan of it. Why? Diets are nothing more than a gimmick. And gimmick is a bad word, I know. Well, I'm going to show you a gimmick. This is a gimmick right here. If you're listening to me, I'm holding up my water bottle that you see me drinking out of all the time in front of the camera right now. And I'm holding it up because I have rubber bands on it. And I'm showing you these rubber bands that I use to track water. If I'm drinking water and I'm moving the bottom bands from the top to the bottom to the top, that's how I'm counting the bottles that I drink. That's a gimmick. That doesn't make me drink water. It's just a gimmick. It's a gimmick I've used successfully for 23 years now and works really, really well. But it is a gimmick. Keto may be your gimmick. Keto could possibly be your jam. And if that is, by all means, go for it. Just remember, if you're planning on doing it for a short term, like any other diet program, always think about, okay, then what? And if your answer to the question is, well, I'm just going to go back to eating normal, that's what got you to the place where you are right now in the first place. So my thoughts on that are make sure you have a plan on the end of it. And again, if it's your jam, go for it. Did I answer all my questions today?
I think you did. I do have one more for you.
Oh, that scares me.
Back to this one.
Uh-oh. Okay. I thought maybe you and the staff had gotten together and got me on camera here and tricked me into something.
No.
I'm not giving you any ideas either.
But beer's a carbohydrate. Mm-hmm. If we got to kick our craving for beer, which may help us lose our beer belly.
Right.
How do we kick that craving for beer?
Oh, a couple of different ways. And the one you want me to say, yes, can you, if you stop drinking beer for a while, would it help you quit your craving? Yes, absolutely. Would stopping all of those chemicals keep you from, help you cut your cravings? Absolutely. Absolutely would. Giving the ridiculous idea of this is something, a food, a substance that I like a lot. It's not illegal or immoral. Mm-hmm. And, when I gave it up, I got rid of my beer belly. Therefore, I'm going to give it up for life. That typically fails.
Yeah.
Stopping it, that would be one thing. Reducing it is another.
Right.
It's a way to slowly reduce that craving. But at the same time, if it's the addiction to alcohol, then we've got a whole different conversation.
That's much different.
Yeah, it's very different. But if it's addiction to the sugar and what have you that may be in the alcohol that you're drinking, whatever, a reduction of your sugar across your entire diet will do the same thing.
Okay. There you go. Reduction in sugar.
Well, beer's one that it rings a bell for me. And the reason being, I'm not a huge beer drinker myself, but I had somebody go through our Catalyst program. It's a lesson that I learned in this program is I talked about ideas like this, but I actually saw this happen. It was amazing. I had a gentleman go through it. He was an avid runner. He ran, as a lot of runners do. They run for their head as much as they do for their body. Loved running. That just made him feel great and what have you. And he would have a couple of beers after every run. Well, we went through the Catalyst program. We do part of time where we do what we call a temporary food change. And so we're trying to get your brain reset. And then when he started adding everything back in, because we go back to all foods, because there's no such thing as bad food, he realized what was important to him. And it wasn't the dessert he was having at night. It wasn't that. It wasn't the extra helping of potatoes. What he really was important to him was his beer after he ran, because it was a way that he rewarded himself for getting his run in. And so, okay, now that made it very important. But he realized that the second beer didn't hold the same importance. So that's why beer always rings a bell for me, and that's why I always say, okay, don't give up the things you love. Let's get it all in line. Figure out what's important to you.
I think that's why I also avoid diets. I'd rather look for a lifestyle change.
Amen to you. Amen to you. Exactly. So, and we talk about the four things that control deterioration. Fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, and mindset. And first thing, having the right mindset, which is you're looking for a lifestyle change. You're not looking for that food to give up. And then number two, lifestyle. And believe it or not, when it comes to the ones that deal with nutrition and fitness, if you think about it, they're associated with lifestyle. Mm-hmm. When you played basketball,
Right.
Which, for those of you who don't know, that besides having a bachelor's and a master's degree, well, but not a master's degree in kinesiology,
Yep.
Katie also played 4 years, I think, right?
Yep, 4 years.
For SUNY up in New York and played basketball. How much lateral movement did you do at that time compared to how much lateral movement you're doing now?
It was insane.
Yeah.
No comparison.
Exactly. No comparison at all. So.
No comparison.
Well, and believe it or not, back then, I'm not going to say ages here, but back then, she was younger than she is now. But it wasn't time that changed that.
Right.
It was lifestyle.
It was for sure lifestyle.
So I love your answer that you said a minute ago, that I'm not looking for a diet, I'm looking for a lifestyle change.
Right.
That's the way to really make a change.
That's the only way to really make something stick long term.
I got you. Okay, is the box filling up already? Do we have some other questions coming?
There are more down there.
I keep
So
banging
keep
this
'em
table. It's kind of coming through on the speaker there. So, yeah, you seem to be getting more popular, Katie.
I know.
So
Watch out, Garrett. I'm going to take over.
I'm about to say, I'm going to have to. By the way, it's 251-278-3343, so you can learn the number. And then if you have any other questions for Katie, you can reach us at that number. You can contact us also at personaledgefitness.com or info@personaledgefitness.com or Katie at personaledgefitness.com. And reach out to us through Facebook, through our website, also through Twitter at Team PE. Answering questions submitted to Katie. Just one more way we help you reach your level of wellness. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast with Garrett Williamson. Subscribe now and be a part of the show by calling 251-278-EDGE or message us on Facebook and Instagram at Personal Edge Fitness or at Team PE on Twitter, and visit us at personaledgefitness.com.